Thank you so much for making it out today. Today's talk is on how to rewrite your life story when the old one no longer fits with Hulya Erdal. And for those who are in the live Zoom audience, hello. For those who are watching this via live stream on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, etc., we want you in the conversation as well. So make sure you introduce yourself if you're in the live Zoom audience or if you're watching this via live stream. I want you to right now introduce yourself, your name, and what city you're coming from. And if you want to grow your LinkedIn community, put your LinkedIn profile as well. We like to kind of grow our connections online and further the conversation offline as well. So for those who are new to Community of Seven, there is one singular purpose of these Let's Talk calls, and it's to create an environment where participants can help support each other and really create a community of belongingness. And it's so beautiful when I see you guys connecting and making friendships offline or on in the LinkedIn comment sections. So please do more of it. I was just reading recently about the loneliness epidemic in the world. And if we can just kind of make one person feel a little bit less lonely by our kindness, how great would that be? So once again, these talks are made possible by our ever-growing community of 7 supporter members. Thank you for being a part of the community. For those who are watching this via the live Zoom audience, if you feel comfortable, if you can, please turn on your video cameras because I know for me as a speaker, I feel so much more comfortable when I see your smiling faces and your reactions. So for the next top activity, top right-hand side, I want you to put this on gallery mode so we can kind of all see each other. Hi, everyone. I so love seeing your beautiful faces. So we always start our calls with a series of questions. You're going to raise your hand like this if the answer is yes. If you're watching via live stream on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, I just want you to type in yes or no in the comment feed. Got it? So first question, how many of you have ever felt stuck either in your personal or life or your career at any point in your life? I know, a lot of us, right? How many of you have figured a way, and it doesn't have to be now, but in the past, maybe, how many of you have figured a way to get unstuck? How many of you want change, but don't know where to start? How many of you have ever caught yourself, be honest, saying it's too late or I'm too old to change? How many are excited for what the future lies in store for them? Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. So top right-hand side, put this in speaker mode so you should just see me. Hi, everyone. We've been doing actually these talks every week this month of March. And there's a reason why. My book launch for Do This Daily is going to be on April 2nd, the 4-year anniversary of when I got laid off from Fortune magazine and started Community of 7, which is a really fitting conversation for today's talk because I had a huge change. I mean, honestly, I was forced to change because who wants to get laid off? And honestly, this is the funny part. I'm turning 50 this year, and I've only recently figured out what I want to do when I grow up. That's crazy, right? And I think for those who felt it's too late, it is not too late. And if any of you joined my call recently with Diane Gilman, the Gene Queen, she is 78 now. And she's writing she wrote her second book. She's basically embarking on her new career journey at the age of 78. It is not too late to live the life of your dreams. I mean, if you were to tell me 5 years ago that I would have wrote a book, do what I'm doing right now, talking to you guys, I would say you are insane because at that time, my trajectory was very specific. And even I remember like 2 weeks before I got laid off of Fortune magazine, I remember being in the New York Metro North, going back home and thinking, wow, I just found my dream job. And I could see myself retiring there. And 2 weeks later, I got laid off. And it was dark for a while, but I'm so glad that happened to me because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if I wasn't forced to change. And sometimes, change seems scary, but the more we do it, it becomes a little bit easier because and honestly, if I can make a pivot, if I can change, anyone on this call can change because I was the type of person who would eat the same foods every day. I remember one of my business mentors when I was younger, and I was just talking to him, and I was like, I don't know why I just feel so stuck. And he was like, well, what do you do in a typical day? And I told him, well, I wake up at 6, then I start working, and then sometimes I'll eat lunch, then I'll work again till maybe 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I'll eat dinner. And then sometimes when I want a break, I'll, refill the gallon water thing I have. And he was like, you do that every day. I was like, yeah. And I don't know why I'm not dating. This is before I got married. And he's like, how do you expect to meet someone? How do you expect to get unstuck if you're doing the same exact thing every day? And I was like, you're right. And so I started the change really small. Like sometimes we think that change has to like happen overnight. When we watch like all those big movies, they're like someone's running a marathon or they meet the love of their lives. Sometimes changes are small. And for me, my big change was I started eating sashimi. I know that sounds really stupid, but like I was the type of person that ate the same food every day. And I wonder why my daughter Morgan eats she used to eat mac and cheese every day, right? I was that type of person. And my friend was like, just try something different, even if it's small. So I started eating different foods that I normally wouldn't eat, seafood. Then I started, I used to always walk a certain path, to get anywhere, I would calculate it in my mind. It had to be specific, and I would take the same path every day. And then I started just to wander and take different path or, past different buildings, get lost. And those little steps made such a big difference in my life. It doesn't necessarily have to be these big changes. One last thing I will share is that I think in a lot of my life, I played it small. I was the type of person who was I was more comfortable being behind the scenes than in front like this. And so I live in New York and I used to walk in Grand Central every day. For those who have walked through Grand Central, there's tons of people, tons of activities. And I would just kind of walk and I pretended like I was like this big, and I'm 5'2". I'm small. I would just picture my mind being big and just like a big kind of like, not monster, but a big burly man maybe, right? And I would just kind of walk and I wouldn't move. And before I would always kind of play small. And the difference is that I would just walk and there would literally be men who would just stand in front of me, just waiting for me to move, and I wouldn't move. And they would walk around me. And I know that example seems kind of trivial, but it was the start of me seeing myself and taking space in the room and not moving around for others. And so, one of those things that I love this talk that we're going to have today with Hulya. And I was reading, kind of doing research on her right before this, and she has the best copy if you go on her website and also on her LinkedIn. But here's some of the questions she asked. Are you staying in a job, relationship, or a life that's slowly eating away at your soul? Do you lack confidence? Is time constantly running away from you? Do you look in the mirror and say bad things to yourself? Is life a roller coaster of negative thoughts and feelings? You're literally shouting from the rooftop, "What's the point of all of this?" Now, imagine that you're waking up every day to another exciting day. Your future is clear and mapped out, so you know what you're doing. You feel empowered by your thoughts and inspired to take action. You feel motivated each day because you are enjoying your life. Maybe you're living abroad or in that cottage by the sea. You have a dream business or job that you absolutely love and rock. You look in the mirror and love yourself without changing a thing. If you say, "I can't see it," I hear you. And today, during this talk, let's try to find a way to make your dreams come true. So today, I am honored to have Hulya Erdal come to speak with us. She helps coach midlife women to freedom. She is a culinary educator and self-discovery coach. She is also a professional chef, teacher, writer, speaker, and BBC radio personality. Her mission and purpose is to guide midlife women through a journey of self-discovery so they can rewrite their life when the old one no longer fits. This is about crushing old beliefs that no longer serve you and changing the way you unapologetically you. I realized that Julia realized that she had shelved her dreams and desires for the sake of others. Sound familiar? And she suppressed her own success and was a hopeless people pleaser. She kept small. And so she emerged through this 7-year period and hopes to kind of reduce that period for those who are on this call today. And she merged her power of cooking and transformational coaching to create a unique combination of food and personal growth to bring out the best in others. Julia is also a mental health ambassador and podcast host of the Burnt Chef Project, and she openly discusses mental health in the hospitality section. Let me find you and spotlight you. Woohoo! Hi, Julia, welcome. I forgot. I recently bought. Welcome. So
Thank you so
excited to
much.
have you here. I just feel like this topic resonates so much with people. I mean, I've talked to so many of my friends who are going through major changes. And I think part of it has also been, the aftermath of the pandemic, where people actually got to pause and really start asking those important questions. What matters to me? Am
Yeah,
I living the life of my dreams, or am I kind of living the life that other people wanted for me? So, Julia, first question that I have for you. You really focus on working with women in midlife. Your mission and purpose is guiding these midlife people through a journey of self-discovery so they can rewrite their own life story. And you, in your kind of interviews, have mentioned that you had a history of unhappy marriage, domestic abuse, navigating a difficult divorce. Tell us a little bit about your personal story and how it got you to where you are today.
oh, thank you, Lan, and thank you everybody for being on the call today as well. I really appreciate that. I'm forever in gratitude. Yeah, so I quite openly talk about it now. Sometimes I think, do I just go on about it? It's so funny, but I am one of those women. I am that woman that just sat down one day and just thought, what's happened? What happened to my life? Literally asked myself that question. Where did the time go? And where did it all go? This is not what I'd planned for myself. And a lot of that was, the catalyst, I guess, was I had, I've been married twice. I've been married and divorced twice. And in my first marriage there was some domestic abuse. It was more physical abuse, and the thing about domestic abuse, I suppose, just sort of saying something about that, is that sometimes when there's physical abuse you kind of like go, oh yeah, it's obvious, it's there. And I sort of ended the marriage quite early on. I had two little ones. One was about 2, the other one was 3. And I just said, no, I'm not going to accept that. So I ended the marriage, and then I just kind of just thought, right, better get a job, and got practical. Really, I suppose I just got quite practical about things. And I guess, as women, and so obviously you can tell I'm from London. I grew up in London, but my parents are from Cyprus, and they came over to England. They were immigrants in the UK. We grew up in East London, and just had to, like, we were survivors. Do you know what I mean? And you just had to make do, and you had to keep going. And so after my first marriage ended, I was just like, right, all right, then get up, dust myself down, let's go. And I didn't really take time or reflect on what happened there. Why was that? And to actually sort of look at myself and think, what do I really want? I just rushed out to get a job and make do. And then it was only when I met my second husband, and everything seemed really great. But we had a daughter, we got married, and everything seemed to be going well. But then over the years, there was this slow, I guess, this kind of progressive decline in my own personality. I'd say one of the things I always used to say was I became a shadow of my former self, and I'd lost my spark. I'd lost that zest for life, and then I started to realize, as time went on, that I felt there was a lot of control in the marriage. And the only thing with that is there was a lot more mental abuse, emotional abuse, and there was coercive control. And it's very hard to articulate that to somebody. It's very hard to explain to yourself, because what you do is you tend to second guess yourself quite a lot of the time. And I found myself doing that. And it was one day, there was a like you mentioned, Lan, about something monumentally crushing has to happen for you to finally make a bit of a change in your life, right? Something happened to you, and you got laid off or you got made redundant, and it was like, oh, I've got to do something else now. Oh, what happened? And something did happen in that marriage, and it was just, it literally, my whole world just changed overnight. And it was with that I just said to myself, oh no, something's not good, something's not working here. And I did not feel good. And I was just so tired and fed up. I'd had enough. One of my mum's favorite phrases, I've had enough, I've had enough. And I literally felt like that. I've had enough. And I just had, and that was really where the journey began. And that was back in 2016. But the interesting thing was, and this might resonate with some of the women, some of your listeners, is that what I found I tried to do quite badly was, I had this really crushing moment, and then what I did was my whole house was literally crumbling around me, shall we say, like everything was just falling apart. And there I was trying to grab it all and put it all, stick it all back together, and trying to keep everything back together. And because I wasn't ready, I didn't feel ready. But we're never going to be ready. This is the thing, we're never really ready for change. We just, sometimes it happens upon us, and that's when we have to do something about it. So I tried to make it right, and then over a period of a few months, I just said to myself, no, that this is not this. No, you have to let go. And it was at that moment where I said, I literally just dropped everything. I released it out there, released it out to the universe, shall we say. And I just said, that's it. This is the start now. You've got to do something, because your life does not look the way it was meant, the way you wanted it to look.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding in the live Zoom audience. And I've found, oh, even your description of being a people pleaser, that was definitely me all my life. A lot of women are like this, but also a lot of the people who kind of follow my community and community of seven are the empath, the givers. And empath and givers tend to be the givers and the people pleasers of the world. How much of that staying in an unhealthy and toxic relationship had to do with you being a people pleaser and a fixer, like being able to try to fix things
Yeah,
at the
100%.
detriment of your health and your mental well-being.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Mental well-being, your health, your physical health, your emotional well-being. It's at the detriment of yourself. And that is exactly what I was doing. So, so yes, people pleasing and being this hopeless, you know, optimist, I think is some way to sort of describe it as well. And this empath means that you are last in the pecking order. I mean,
Mm,
that is just the long, tall, and short of it. You as a human being, you put yourself down there at the very bottom. Your cup is so empty, you've literally got nothing left for yourself because you spend all your time just giving and giving. So for me, I was wearing so many hats. You know, I was like, right, okay,
yeah.
kids, yeah, I've got 3 kids, need to make sure they're all taken care of, feeding them and, you know, clothing
Yeah.
them and making sure they went to school and then making sure they did their education and their homework. And then it was, okay, yeah, you know, when the husband gets home, better make sure I've got the dinner on the table and all the rest. Oh, but, you know, of course, I was also working and I was actually self-employed. So I was trying to run a business at the same time and still, you know, doing all those things too. And then, of course, family, the obligatory, you know, the family obligations, trying to get to make sure that everyone was happy there as well. And, you know, and always
Mm.
saying yes.
Can,
And
can I
this was the
pause you?
thing.
Can I pause you for a second? How many of you, either in the live Zoom audience or watching this via the live stream, can relate to everything that Julia just described? Being last on the pecking order and putting everyone else first. I'm seeing a lot of yup, yes, on the live stream too, right? Once again, I have a certain audience. I know my audience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, honestly, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it in my heart, literally in my soul, because it's not a new story. That's the
Yeah.
point. You know what I mean? This is, you know, as women, we're so conditioned in society to wear these multiple hats and to show up in every single
So
facet of our
tiring.
life.
It is so tiring. I'm like just being tired listening to
Do you
you.
know what I mean? Like literally, we are
Yeah.
literally
Missy
expected
in the
to do
comments says
that.
it's not a new story, yet we suffer through it alone all too often. So true. Well, you don't have to be alone on this call. You got this
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
of
You
course,
are
my
not
daughter
alone.
just did the hype button.
Yeah,
Say
yeah, yeah.
hello
Go
if you're going to hype everyone up. Hi. It's
on
exhausting, right?
then.
That's yes, you can drink that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Trying to multitask right now. Normally I
Right.
do this in the day call in the daytime, so she's usually in school, but she does a guest appearance whenever it's later in the day.
I
So
love it.
sorry.
So
Um,
cute.
so what's the first step in anyone who's kind of on this call, what's the first step they should take if they really want to start rewriting their story?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, obviously, this is where I would encourage self reflection, you know, to really sit with yourself, to be honest to yourself, ask yourself questions. You know, one of the book I was going to say a book that I read, which was really great. I haven't written mine yet. It's coming. It'll be coming out soon. I'm going to write mine. Get
Yeah.
Land's book, everybody, and then my one will come soon. My one will come soon. But so a book that I read when I started my journey, and I knew I had to do something drastic for me. When I started my journey, I read this book by Gay Hendricks called Five Wishes. And really, the essence of the book was he was asked a question. You know, he was on his deathbed. He was asked to put himself on his deathbed, and in a way, it was quite a dramatic thing. I felt it was, you know, it was really really deep for me to do that. But I had to imagine myself in the future. You know, imagine my mortality, and then think back. How did I enjoy my life, and what did I do, and did I have a really good time, and what were the things that I enjoyed the most, and what did I achieve? And I think when I did that exercise for myself, I started to realize, no, this is not what I want for me. This is not what I want for myself. Because I had to be really honest. So anyone starting a journey, I would say, think about, be honest with yourself and ask yourself, are you happy right now? And look, I'm not saying we have to be happy all the time, because we don't. Some days we feel a bit glum. Some days we get up and we're a bit like meh, and that's okay. But in essence, asking yourself, do you feel like when you wake up in the morning, you're raring to go, or there's, you want to start the day, it's like, yay, it's time to start the day, or like, yeah, I'm going to do this today, or you're feeling good about yourself? And if the answer's no, then you need to go deep to ask yourself, why is it a no? One of the questions that I actually ask my clients is, if you could be anywhere, do anything, would you choose to be here? Because that, in a way, shifts your mindset, and it actually makes you think, oh, because a lot of the time we're asked those questions like, oh, what's your dream? What's your hope? What's your desire? And if you could have anything, and if money was no object, where would you be? Where would you go? But actually, a lot of the time we've got to bring ourselves to the present and think, would I still choose this? Would I still want to be here? And if the answer is yes, then why? List the reasons why. Where are you now? And, what's working for you? And, what are the parts that you love the most? How can you get more of that? How do you feel? But then if the answer is no, then I like to ask, who, what, and where would you be? And there's no right or wrong. It's just being honest. It's just feeling into the emotions of doing this exercise, feeling into your feelings. What would you, how would you like to feel? What would you like to feel? What does that look like for you? And I think when you go deep and you ask these kinds of questions, it really starts to make you think about, what is happening for me, and reflecting on how are you kind of navigating life, and what are the choices you're making or can make to get more of what you do want. Yeah,
What
it's
I'm
really
what I'm
deep.
hearing too is just intentionality of like I think most of us, because we are juggling so many balls, we're, maybe parents, we're working, there's no time in the day to actually pause and self-reflect. Because, I remember when I was in the corporate world, it was like one fire after the next. And I didn't, I would have meetings upon meetings, and I wouldn't, stop work maybe the meetings would end maybe at 6 or 7, and then I had to then spend a few hours actually doing work, right? There wasn't time for reflection. And when I work with executives, one of the first questions I ask them is, what brings you joy? And inevitably, 95% of the time, most of the executives I talk to can't answer that question because they haven't asked that question. And if you're not able to articulate what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, how do you plan to get there? Right? So I think the questions that you gave is really powerful because it talks about being very intentional with where you're at the moment, and then kind of forging a path forward in terms of where you want to be next. So,
Yeah.
for the folks who are kind of listening to this, what's the most important piece of advice you would give to someone who's hesitant to make that first step in rewriting kind of their story?
Yeah, absolutely. So um when we first start rewriting our story, and we start to take those first steps, we are going to feel hesitant, because we're going to feel fear, because obviously we're trying to change something. We're attempting to make changes to our lives that have been running in a certain order for so long, right? So suddenly we're thrown this curveball, or we're put into this situation where we think, okay, oh gosh, I'm going to have to try and do something different. So what I always say is, start small. And you mentioned that, Lan, it's just small steps. Look, you can't eat a cake in one whole bite, right? I mean, we could try, but it won't work. Yeah. So you can't, it's a mammoth task, right? So You've got to take it a little bit by bit. And when you do that, and you create manageable little steps for yourself. It's like when they talk about, if you want to start going to the gym, or you want to work out, or you want to lose a few pounds, or get fit and healthy, whatever it is, whatever that looks like for you. You're not going to lose 20 pounds in 1 week. It's small increments, because when you make small changes, you've got more chance of it succeeding. And also, you get wins, you get constant wins, because every day you make that one little change, you say, yeah, I did well that day, I did well. So even if you're hesitant, a good exercise is the journaling, is to pick up a book, because that's what I did. And honestly, I everything I say I've done, right? I've done this for myself. I did this for so long. I read countless books, and I tried it all. I did the 5 a.m.ing thing. I did the yogaing, the meditating, the journaling. I tell you, I went hard. I went deep, right? Because I knew I had to. And so, pick up a book, pick up a journal, and just make some notes about how you're feeling. Get stuff out of your head. Don't have it ruminating in there. And just, one little step, one little action, even if that means, right, okay, I'm just going to sit still for a minute. Okay, I'm going to sit still for a minute every day, 1 minute. You'll be surprised at how that will make you feel within yourself, how that will calm you down. And actually, that 1 minute will turn into 2 minutes and 5 minutes and 10 minutes. And soon, before you know it, you're meditating for a whole half hour. Do you know what I mean? But it is small little steps, small intentional changes. If you think, really, I like to think big, and I like to have big visions, but actually sometimes and I'd say it can be a problem, is we're so far ahead at that massive future goal that we just haven't got the heart to even think that we can get there. Because we've got this huge goal. I used to dream of having a chateau in the south of France. I mean, me and about 1,000,001 other people, right? But but it was only ever a dream. It was always just a fantasy. Nowadays, because of all the work that I've done, all the introspection, all the personal journey that I've undertaken, and all the people that I've worked with now, I think, yeah, I can have that. And actually, my goal changed. I started thinking, oh, do I really want a chateau in the south of France and all the hassle that comes with it? No, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to go and rent a chateau in the south of France and have a really wicked holiday. That would be amazing, and then I started going to myself, yeah, that's doable. That's just so doable for me. So it's not to say that you shouldn't set big goals for yourself. It's not to say that, that we're playing small, but it's just being able to go, okay, for this next 3 months, this is my goal. And then when I get to that, then I'm going to set another goal.
Yeah.
But don't just try to, don't try and do it all at once, because
One of
then.
one of
No, it's
my
all right.
favorite one of my favorite books is by BJ Fogg, and he's a Stanford professor, and he has this book called Tiny Habits. And one of the things he talks about is that, one, we need to celebrate our wins, and we don't celebrate our wins enough, right? What we do is we keep on moving the finish line back. And so he celebrates after every win, and he actually just does this. I'm awesome. And he just yells, I'm awesome. So, oh, I made my breakfast today. I made my bed. I'm awesome. And it's those small little celebrations that make such a big difference. The second thing he does is he had this goal, because he had realized that his pants were fitting a little tight. And so instead of making these big proclamations, he's like, I'm just going to tie a habit with an action. So every time he went to the toilet, he would do 10 push-ups.
Brilliant.
So in a space of the day, he maybe did 100 push-ups, but they were tiny. And then he would add to that. So instead of running a marathon, he was like, I'm just going to put on my tennis shoes. Then I'm going to walk a block. Then after a block, I'm going to, for a week, I'm going to walk a mile or whatnot. But it's like these small little actions that accumulate throughout our lifetime. But I think what it is just getting yourself in the habit of like changing and reframing your mindset. Because I used to be such a people pleaser. I just started saying no more often. Like, do you want to go out and before I used to be into FOMO and just go out just because a friend would ask. But I realized, as an introvert, I love staying.
Yeah.
Yes, my
Yeah.
daughter just kind of like chiming in right now. But yes, no, you see, wait, see, it worked. Wait, watch. My daughter to the side, can I watch TV? And I was like, no, seeing it in action right now. But like the more you're able to say no, the more you're able to set boundaries on the small level, then they kind of execute on the bigger level in
Yeah.
work and life and whatnot. So I want to
Yeah.
read some of the comments in the chats because I think there's some powerful ones right here. Um, Colette says, believe in yourself and know we are deserving of something so much better. So beautiful. Barbara, the 4 a.m. starts habits, the miracle mornings, were really helpful. Um, Barbara, what if your change is so impactful you feel you're about to fall off a cliff? Oh my God. So it's huge impact, not small steps. And let me see. Donna, part of sadness comes from lack of joy, laughter, personal interaction during the day. We push hard to get done and never get everything done.
Yeah.
Um, and I have a question for you, Hidalgo. This is from Regina. What if you're unsure of the who, what, or where to start?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Yeah. It's a really good question. Absolutely brilliant. And I had to feel into that as well because I had, in a lot of ways, lost my uh, dream, lost my desires. I'd lost my mojo basically, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I want. I don't know. I don't know. And I sat for ages going, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? In a blind panic. Do you know what I mean? Because there's obviously all these amazing, fabulous people out there, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to help you find your purpose. Yeah, you got to have your purpose. What's your purpose? Blah, blah, blah. You know, but we don't know that. And so what I discovered was a really great thing to do was values. What are my values? It was as simple as that. What is it that's important to me? And and the way to work your values out is to think about a job that you did once, or you used to have, or you have, that where there's parts of that job. What is it that really rocks your boat? What was the most favorite part of that job? What was it in that job that you really enjoyed? And it could be that it was just the mere interaction with other people, the communication. It could be that you really liked getting stuff done, like organizing and whatever that was. And think about an occasion that you went to, a really wonderful occasion, someone's wedding, maybe it was a party. And what was it about that occasion that lifted your spirits, that lit your soul up? When you go back and you think about these moments in your life that really had an impact on you, that just made you feel so soulful and happy and enlightened, you can feel into the words, yeah, that you can associate with that. What was it about that? Like some of my values, I can tell you, are honesty. Because I'm always, my friend says to me, you're always saying, like, honest, to be honest, and honestly, and I use it a lot. And she said, you're one of you. And she actually said it to me, because I say integrity is one of my values as well. Like, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And that was one of the things that really matters to me. If someone asks me to do something, or if I like to help people, and if someone asks me, oh, could you support me with this or help me with that, I get straight on it, and I think, right, let me connect them with someone, or let me talk to someone, or let me see how I can support that person. And again, maybe it's a little bit like, I don't know, people pleasing, but I don't, I've learned to split the two and differentiate between that. Do you know what I mean?
So
And
is that
sort of be
how
able.
you, I mean, because you have a very unique career trajectory. So you are a culinary chef, you're on BBC, and you are a transformation coach. So there must have been, what was your process to get there?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, so what was the process to get there? It was that, so I've been a chef for about 20 years. Prior to that, actually, I worked in the food sector, but in PR and marketing. And then what I did was I transitioned into being a chef because I thought I fancy a change. So I'm good at change. I'm really good at changing, like doing stuff. So I fancied a bit of a change, and I thought, oh, yeah. And here's the thing. All right, here's the thing um that it worked in my favor, but also it was kind of, I was listening to other people. So someone said, oh, you really like having dinner parties and cooking and you should go and be a chef, you should open your own restaurant. And I just took that, and because I was fancying a bit of a change, but I didn't have a Scooby-Doo what I was doing or where I was going next, what I wanted to do. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, yeah, I'll go and do that. So I went and did a culinary course for a year and trained as a chef. And then it was obviously after I did that I got into teaching, and I did my teaching. And then obviously when I had the catalyst and the marriage just crashed and burned, the second marriage, and I went on the journey of self-discovery, that I just said to myself, there's something really unique here. Because here's the thing with cooking, here's the cooking element of it, right? And I encourage you all seriously to, if you don't cook, grab a recipe, contact me, I'll give you loads of recipes. Like, seriously, cook. Because when you cook, and this is one thing I found, the one thing I always felt where I valued myself and I actually genuinely liked myself was when I cooked. And I really had to get in touch with that, because I felt that it was at that moment when I was in my own zone, I was able to just be with me and be with the food and just be in that moment. And it was very much a mindful activity. It was very meditative for me. It was my salvation. And it got me through some really difficult times. And obviously, I'm a Mediterranean woman. I come from a family of crazy people who cook and eat and shout and spend hours like eating. And we eat last night's leftovers for breakfast. And do you know what I mean? Like, we have, like, literally our whole lives are surrounded by food. We live and die by the food. So I was never going to give it up. It was never going to be something I was going to let go of. But I really wanted to help midlife women as well, because obviously I'm 53, so I'm 53 now, and I started my journey obviously in my sort of late 40s. And I just said to myself, no. And it's not over, man. It's not over yet. There's more to this life. There's more to this. Do you know what I mean? And I just, and that's why.
You know what it also makes me think of is that a lot of times when we are trying to find our purpose, as we get older, we so tie it into profession or job, but we never tie it into what brings me joy, what brings me happiness, what lights my fire. And sometimes the process, because we say, I like dancing, that's not going to turn into a profession, right? But maybe the process of doing something that you love can get you something. For you, it was cooking, and you actually ended up making it a profession and fusing it with this transformation coaching, right? But this whole notion of opening your mind to creativity is the catalyst for getting unstuck. Like, we think we need to do these, like eat, pray, love, and travel throughout the world. But
Yeah.
maybe it's just asking yourself, what makes me happy, and doing more of it, spending time with your friends, going to a comedy club, dancing, and just getting our bodies kind of moving, right?
Yeah.
So I love your example of just pausing, making small incremental changes, and then just kind of focusing on the things that you love. So you work with a lot of women. You know, once Can you kind of give an example of someone you've worked with who were able to kind of rewrite their stories, and, you know, how they went about it, and what we can learn from that example?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I work with a really wonderful woman called Jane, actually. Well, I call her Jane. That's not her real name.
Yeah.
Um, and she spent years feeling down. Like, when I met her, like her whole shoulders were like, you know, hunched up, and she was just, she you know, she felt sad, you know, she was sad. I think that was the best way I could describe her. She was sad. And you know, her mental health had been challenged. She'd spent years feeling down. She'd picked bad partners. You know, I could empathize with her. She was low confidence, low self-esteem. You know, she had no value for herself, no self-worth. um, and really, she just bad talked herself. She's just constantly bad talking herself, and not giving herself any credit for, you know, for who she was. And you know, we worked together probably for about a year, and in that time, this woman, you know, she sort of explained some of her life to me. And actually, what we managed to do, which I thought was really amazing, and this is where I think coaching, mentoring, you know, a trusted family friend, anyone that can support you, and support you, you know, empathically, support you, to just be you, to let yourself be free. What was really amazing was that we were out of, I call it out of the rubble, really, out of the sort of thorns and the thorny bush and all the things that she'd, you know, all the obstacles and things she'd put in her way. We were able to unpick things and pluck out these incredible skills, this incredible stuff that she'd done, and yet she gave herself zero credit for. I mean, she'd had a lot of experiences in her life, you know, the death of a husband, a bad partner. You know, she didn't know what she was doing. She was in a sort of, you know, career change. Wasn't sure where to go, and you know, we went on this journey, and I took her on this journey, and you know, she has to do it herself. Look, that's the thing with anything like coaching and mentoring. You know, it's on, you know, you've got to do the work. Do you know what I mean? You've got to do the work if you want to see the changes, right? And she did. She went from this person who slept in till 10 a.m. to getting up at 7 a.m. You know, I bought her The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and she was reading that, and she was meditating and practicing mindfulness and journaling every morning and every night. She started going to the gym. You know, she got a new job, left her relationship. I mean, it redecorated her house. It was profound just watching her take this journey, and it was painful at times. You know, I watched her grow and just become this beautiful butterfly, when she'd been just, you know, cocooned for so long, and just watching her sort of grow and create space in her life. And a lot of it was through, you know, the journaling. It was through us doing a lot of talking, and really going down to, with all the things that she'd achieved, the things that she could do, and then tapping into where would she like to be, or what makes her happy. And you know, one of the things we did this really great meditation where, we imagined her, you know, somewhere that would, you know, that gave her joy, and she imagined herself in this beautiful cottage living in the countryside, and that is a dream of hers. That is what she'd like to do, and I believe she'll achieve that. You know, she's on the road to doing that. She's got a lot more confidence now. We cooked together. It was amazing. You know, we worked out issues that arose for her. And it was just really beautiful watching her journey, actually. And it is possible. I think this is what I really wanted to say as well to everyone, is that, you know, sometimes, look, one, you don't have to be in the complete and utter toilet to change your life. Okay, so don't, you know, if you know, you just might be having a challenge right now, and maybe that's a career challenge, and maybe that's you know, maybe your kids have left home, maybe you've been made redundant, you know, maybe you've got a divorce. You know, these are all going to be challenges that come to us, and really you're just looking for, maybe a bit of direction, you know, which way to turn. In the end, you make that decision, but with the support, of a coach or a friend, or just, you know, through reading books, and this is, you know, there's a lot of things that I did. When you get that support, it can give you an opportunity to, make your decisions, make things clearer for yourself. I think that's the way to describe it, is to just clear away the fog. And I think the best way to do that always is to embark on that self reflection first. Think about the things that would bring you joy, even if it's just going out for a walk, nature, experiencing, going to the sea, or maybe it's a trip you'd like to take, a holiday you'd like to have. And what are the things that you can do to make it so that you can have those things, so that you can get to that place? Sometimes it's not always, oh, I want £1 million and I want to own a big massive mansion and blah blah blah. They're just things. It's what does life bring for us within, deep within ourselves, in our heart. What difference is it that you'd like to make to the world? What is it that you desire, not just for yourself but for the greater good of others? When we're 20 and when we're 30s, we think differently. Our perceptions are different, our perspective is different. We think about, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna have 2 kids, I'm gonna have this amazing house, this car, this money. Oh yeah, I want to raise my income by this, by that. Da, 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 da. But once you get into your 40s and your 50s, the trajectory changes. You're in midlife, and suddenly you want a little bit more, but that more looks different now. It's just not the same as it was when you were younger and you were embarking on that career. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think it makes complete sense. And I've been starting to kind of look at my life in 4 quarters. So, the first quarter is really about, from age 1 to 19 is really about figuring things out, learning how to walk, learning how to read. And then the second part, your 20s into your 40s is really about making a profession, making a living. And the phase that I feel I'm in right now is, the third quarter, which is trying to find meaning and purpose in my life. And the last phase, of course, the fourth quarter is about, what's your legacy, right? And so the realization too that I have more years possibly behind me than I have ahead of me has kind of really given this urgency, right? If the average person in America lives 77 years, then I am more than halfway done, right?
Yeah.
So I want to open this to question. Does anyone have questions for Julia? And you can also kind of just let me know in the comments. Yes, Donna, do you want to unmute and ask your
Yeah.
question?
To say, Donna, I was looking in the chat and Donna she's given a really good question. I like that. Yeah. Go on,
Yeah,
Donna.
thank you. Um, one of the things in the movie The Help, it stuck with me, and it was before everybody was talking about mindset and talk self. And if you remember, the little baby, the mother did not like her and was really mean to her, actually, and said bad things to her. And here you have this loving, caring voice and a person who loves this child. And every morning she says, you are kind, you are smart, you're important. And that little girl says it with her. And it's just, I looked at that as something that, again, it was way before everyone was talking about this stuff. But is
Yeah.
that something that you did with your mentee? Did you encourage that? Was that something she also did with meditation? Because I think that's so
Yeah,
important because we have so many negative things
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that go in our head, including like, I'm never going to finish this, and why are we doing,
absolutely.
why
Yeah,
do we
yeah,
So
do
much,
definitely.
Donna. Thank you. So really, so
Thank you,
maybe the
Donna.
question too is, what are some of the things that we can do daily? So
Yeah,
self-talk,
yeah.
meditation. What are some of the things that the folks who are on the call or watching this can do daily?
Definitely. So the I ams are so important. So I did a lot of Dr. Wayne Dyer stuff, a lot of Dr. Wayne Dyer work. I'd highly recommend his books. The Wishes Fulfilled, one of my absolute favorites. Change Your Life, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. Again, just one of my absolute favorites. Um, so I did the whole. I can hear my cat meowing in the background. Sorry. I I did the whole I am thing where I would look in the mirror, and I did the Louise Hay mirror work as well. And I again highly recommend Louise Hay's mirror work. And in fact, I've actually got a client at the moment, and she's working with me, but I've got her doing the mirror work as well, and as well alongside the stuff that we're doing. And I'll tell you, you're looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, because we negative talk ourselves a lot, and I used to do that all the time. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not good enough. Oh no, I can't do that. Oh no, no one's going to listen to me, blah blah blah. And so look in the mirror and literally, you know, even if you don't believe it at first, you've got to keep doing it. Again, this is like the small steps, right? So you look in the wake up every morning, look in that mirror, and just say to yourself, I am beautiful, I am amazing, I am gorgeous. And I know, you know, sometimes I've heard some people say, oh, really, you know, is that going to work? Da, da, da. But that client of mine, Jane, that I was talking about, I got her doing that. And we came up with some affirmations specifically for her. And she would look in that mirror every morning and she would say that to herself. And she said to me, I didn't really honestly didn't believe it at first, but it's made such a big difference, because when you start to tell yourself, I am beautiful, I am amazing, you know, I am having a good day, today is going to be a good day, you know, I am gorgeous, I love my arms, my legs, my belly, my body, I love myself. Yeah, I love my eyes. So all those things that we pick at, oh, look at my cellulite, look at my thighs. I mean, I spent years doing that, right? I'm gonna tell you, you know, literally, oh, I love my thighs, I love my legs, I love myself. It doesn't mean that I didn't want to exercise. It doesn't mean that I wasn't going to go to the gym. It doesn't mean that I wasn't, you know, I still didn't want to lose a couple of pounds. But I had to get in touch with myself first and love me as I was now before I could make changes or do things. Because when you do them with love. You do them from a place of positivity, not from a place of negativity. Because that's the issue. If we come from a place of, oh no, look at the state of me, oh no, I need to go and exercise and work out, blah blah blah, there's no sustainability. You're not going to be able to keep it going because you're doing it all from a place of negativity. So my advice is always talk to yourself positively, address your self-talk, and catch yourself when you're saying stuff.
I mean, we can be probably our harshest critics a lot of times. And one of the things I always say to my friends, and I have to remind to myself as well, is what would you say to a friend? Would you say that to a friend? And usually the answer is no, right? But we are so tough on ourselves, right? Um,
Definitely.
there was a
Definitely.
comment earlier that I wanted to address. There's so many comments, I can't find them now. I think it was about Marsha about being a people pleaser. And she says, what if you identify yourself as being a people pleaser and you get gratification from it? And she feels that she adds value to the world. And so she's always putting others ahead of myself. And I want to answer that, and I'll let you answer it as well. One of the things that really helped me, Marcia, being a people pleaser, was telling myself that it was selfish for me to say yes to everyone. Because when I said yes to everyone, that means I would say no to the people who matter, like my daughter. So if I were to take every call that I got or every request for meetings, there's only 24 hours in a day, and I need to sleep and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And so if I were to say yes to everything that and helped everyone, I would be saying no to the people who matter to me. So it was selfish essentially for me to be a people pleaser.
Definitely.
Yeah. Did you
100%.
want to
100%.
add anything to
Yeah,
that?
yeah. And I would say that, well, if you're saying yes to someone, then what are you prepared to let go of in your own life?
Yeah,
What are you saying no to in your own life? And are you okay with letting that go?
I
That's
love
that's the
that.
thing, isn't it?
So I think we're out of time right now. Hulya, how can we find you? And I added the list of where to find you. What's the
Thanks.
one thing that you feel the people on this call should take away from this call? What's the most important thing that they should do or take from this call?
Yeah, yeah. So I think the most important thing for me is to um, ask yourself. Well, actually, I think the most important thing for me is that when you wake up every morning, think about yourself and tell yourself how much you value yourself and love yourself. Think about you first. When you go to bed at night, think about yourself. Give gratitude for yourself. As much as you give gratitude for the things around you, the things that you have, give gratitude for yourself as well, for getting through the day, for being here today. You know, value yourself and love yourself in that place, and start from there before you do anything else.
I love that. So everyone, you know what the deal is. On the right-hand side, put this on gallery mode. For the folks who are on this call in the Zoom audience, unmute yourself, turn on your videos for this period. This is the one time I ask you to turn on your videos, unmute yourself. Hulya deserves a big round of applause.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, lad. Thank you, everybody.
It was wonderful.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing
Bye.
day. And
Thank
then
you.
next week, we have another guest talking about how to book yourself in podcasts. So join us next week as well. Thank
Wow.
you, Lilia. Find her on, I'll add her link on all of the
Yeah, the Recipe for Life and LinkedIn, Hulya Erdal. Yep, I'm there.
Awesome.
Just look me up.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.